Hi there, and welcome back. This is my second tutorial. I'm still very nervous, as you can imagine. This tutorial is about how to make some party cupcakes. But I'm going to split it into 3 videos because I'm going to, first of all, on number 1, which is this video, I'm going to explain the equipment and the tools you'll need. I'll do a little bit of fondant stuff, but you know. And then number 2 will be the baking of the cupcakes, and number 3 will be making the buttercream and then decorating. So rather than having one huge long video, I'm going to split them up into 3. So this is the tools and equipment. Okay, so I'm going to run through it very quickly. As I say, the baking of the cake is just as important, maybe more important actually, than the decorating of one. A lot of people want to start decorating cakes, but they haven't mastered how to bake. And I've been baking, well, since I was 11. And I've probably done every recipe going. And I've even come up with my own recipes and methods that I find easier and always have consistent results. And I'll be explaining that in the second tutorial about the baking side. So you'll have to bear with me with that one, but that's coming up very soon. So, to bake cupcakes you need cupcake cases. Voila! And here they are. Alright? Now you can buy paper ones and they're fine, but sometimes they lose their colour in the baking process. I do like the foil ones. These are the foil ones, but it's entirely up to you what you use. And I'm not telling you, you know, how to do it. This is the way, this is the equipment you need. I'm not into all that. I'm just trying to explain why I use these things. And I use these simply because the colour doesn't fade in the cooking process. So that's simple. Now I use cupcake tins. Now here's one. Alright. You don't have to. I'm not saying you have to go out and buy this if you haven't got one. I'm just saying this is what I use because the cupcake case fits perfectly inside. And in the baking, it doesn't have much movement. Sometimes if you put them on a baking tray and put them in the oven, they'll spread as they rise. So I tend to just use these for more consistent results. But that doesn't mean you have to go out and buy them if you haven't got them. But if you have, brilliant, you can use these. So that's that. I'll move them. Then you need a bowl. Any bowl, it doesn't matter. Mine happens to be this. It's an old school kind of type kitsch retro, whatever you want to call it. And I've had it for years and it's still going and it still works. But any bowl, plastic, whatever, doesn't matter, but you do need a bowl. And I use a sieve. This is ancient, it's nothing spectacular. I think I got it for £1. So, and I've had that for about 7 years. So, a sieve, okay? You also need some scales. Any scales. I've got these, they're not fancy. They're from a regular place. I didn't have to go and spend a fortune. And the jobs are good and they work perfectly. Now, you need a mixer. Now this is a contentious subject because you can go and buy the huge big KitchenAids. They cost you £349 in the UK. That's a lot of money, especially when you're just starting out. If you pay less and buy other brands at cheaper prices, I'm sorry, but I have to be honest, they just don't do the job. and in my experience, absolutely a waste of time. You might as well not even bother. The best alternative is the cheapest alternative. And this is what I use. And I've been baking, as I say, for a long time, and I use these. These happen to be Kenwood, yeah. And they're fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And they'll do the job. They'll make a cake. That's all you need. You just need it to be able to mix the mixture in the bowl. And that's that. So these cost me, I think, £20. And I've had these for 3 years and I use them a lot. Okay. So that's the basic equipment. Alright? Now, on the decorating side, there's lots of things that you can buy in the stores. These are sugar strands. I've got some chocolate mini jazzies. Oh my word, they're posh. Okay, I've got them. And then these I bought in a really cheap shop. I think they were 50 pence. And look, you've got glitter, you've got I don't know what they're called, but they're gorgeous on cake, cupcakes. And there's different varieties there, so you can take your pick. I like all the colours as well. So you can buy those to decorate. You can also, and I have quite a few, but that's because I've been decorating cakes for about 3.5 years. So I've accumulated a lot of bits over the time. But what I'm saying to you is you just don't need to go out and spend a fortune, but you can get these, and these are the cutters. And you roll out your fondant, press them in and flip them out. And that one happens to be a leaf, and that one is a flower, and you pop, and that one's a small flower. And they're little ones are ideal for cupcakes because you can add them as just a little bit of an embellishment, and they're lovely. So that's that. Now, okay, back to equipment slightly, talking about cakes. Okay, I use these a lot. I have to say I do use them a lot. I think they're called scribers or something like that. But I do use them, and that's maybe something you will invest in the future. And they're great for marking, pushing your fondant, rolling. Oh, there's lots of different things you can do with them. And I use them quite a lot when I'm model making. So, but that's a little bit down the line, but it's a good investment. Now, when you've made, and that's that's a scalpel. You think I'm a surgeon, but I'm not. It's great for cutting fondant, especially around shapes or cutting out shapes, and I'll be actually showing you how to use that soon. But once you've baked your cake, you want to decorate, and you can make fairy cakes, and I love them, sprinkled with icing sugar at the very end. Absolutely gorgeous. But if you're wanting to make cupcakes in the kind of American kind of style, I suggest you do buy a piping bag, and you can get disposable ones. I got these off a good friend of mine. I've still got them. I got a big roll of them. But you can get smaller ones, and they're not very expensive, and they're worth the investment. This is things you need to buy in order to produce that effect. Okay, if you don't want to do those type of cupcakes, then don't buy the piping bag. And people go out and buy lots of nozzles, piping nozzles, different shapes, different sizes, and they haven't really got a clue why they're buying them. I've only got 3, and this is the one I use the most. It's a Wilton nozzle, and it's a 1M for mother, 1M. And that will give you the ice cream kind of effect. It's really nice, and I use that one a lot. So, good investment, brilliant investment. Okay. What you also might already have are like scone cutters, yeah, or biscuit cutters in America, I think they call them. And as you can see, I think there's different sizes and we go up to quite large. And I think I paid for the set £1. Yeah, £1. So these are brilliant for toppers for your cupcakes, and I'm going to show you very quickly how to do it. I'm going to use, and how you size things, I'm going to use that one, I just know I'm going to, and I'll show you why. You size it with your cupcake case, and just imagine the topper sits on the top. Alright, so you don't want it bigger, you want it slightly smaller so it sits nicely on the top once you've put your buttercream on. Alright, so I'm going to very quickly show you how to do that. Alright, oh, another investment which you will need eventually, especially if you're working on small pieces of fondant, is this kind of rolling pin. It's very, very smooth, as you can see, and it's perfect. It's not made of wood, but it's perfect for rolling out fondant. Alright, so now I've actually put my magic CMC in this fondant already, and I've coloured it. I haven't bought this colour, I've actually mixed the colour, and it's firm, but because it's been in the covered over, I'm going to just bring it back to life. And you give it a little roll and stuff, and yeah, okay, I'm ready. Now, how do you roll? Well, it's simple, don't worry. I use icing sugar. Some people use corn flour or cornstarch, but I'm not saying go and use that or don't use that. You know, just use what you want, what you've got in the cupboard. And because I have icing sugar in the cupboard, because I make cakes, I use icing sugar. The thing with icing sugar is I've seen demonstrations and I've seen people make them, and they put absolutely loads of icing sugar on their worktop, and my personal belief is if you put too much on, it dries out your fondant. You don't need a lot, so I'm going to show you how little you actually need. Whoop! Look, tiny, and I'm just going to rub in to the surface where I'm going to be rolling. Okay, now if this was just fondant icing, I couldn't roll it as thin as I'm going to now, okay? But because I've added the CMC Tylose powder, I can roll it that little bit thinner. So off we go. And just keep rolling and keep moving. So roll, move, roll, move, roll. A good technique is people tend to press down and out. It's really from the centre, alright? Or as near to the centre as you can. That's where you start rolling. Okay. It's gone a bit jagged, but that's because I've probably had it out for far too long, trying to set up this demonstration. And I'm still going because I'm going to go thinner. If you feel that it's sticking, it isn't, but I'm just going to show you. If you feel that it's sticking, add a tiny amount, rub and lay, and off you go. So I'm ready now. I think it's thin enough. Yeah. Alright. So as we've already decided, I'm going to use this cutter. And I'm going to use the, I suppose, floral edge. It's quite pretty. So I'm going to place it down, even pressure, and then a slight twist. And I kind of tend to remove it from the outside. Discard the unwanted fondant and pick it up. And it's all free. Is that a word? Just tap to remove the fluff, if you want to call it fluff. It's not really fluff, but just go around very, very gently. Just gently does it. There we go. It just gives a softer edge. And roll it flat. Now, I'm going to make it quite sweet and quite pretty, rather than just leaving it like that. I'm going to add a little bit of embellishment. Now, you can buy these, and they're actually, I've forgotten the name now, but I think they're called embossing tools, and I think they're used for different kinds of craft, not just cake craft. And I'll just move it closely. I'm going to sit it down, and I'm going to make little holes all the way round, holding it in the centre if you want. And this doesn't take much, just pretty little holes all the way around. So it's kind of like a tablecloth, you know. And it'll just add some detail, really. Okay, you can also use, here we go, here's my cheats method. You can also use the cocktail stick. You just cut off the end and boop, 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 same principle. And in fact, just pop it in and then just give it a little bit of a circular motion, and that will do exactly the same as that. So there you go. So now I've made that. Do you remember, well, if you've watched my first tutorial, it shows you how to make a fondant rose. And by the way, children can very easily make those roses as well as adults, and that's why I did it, because I thought this is great for the family and getting the kids involved and maybe interested in baking. And my daughter did it along with her friend, and this is what they made, and I think they're brilliant. There's one, there's two, and there's three, and they're children, and they made fondant roses, and I think they're probably better than mine. Well done, girls. So what I'm going to do is, I've made a little white fondant rose to sit really on the top like so. Alright, see, I think theirs is better than mine. Yeah. Alright, and I'm going to make some leaves. Now I do have a leaf cutter, I have to admit, but I'm not going to use one just because I know that not everybody has the equipment. You know, it's not an inexpensive hobby. It's actually quite expensive if you really get into it. But I'm just wanting you to get into the kitchen really and start baking. So I'll put a little bit of icing sugar down. Alright. And I'm going to roll. I'll just move that. Now bearing in mind that will actually harden. That. Right. So I'm going to make a leaf. I hope this shows up. That's my only worry with doing a tutorial, that it actually shows up on the camera. So I think that's as thin as I want to go. Alright. Okay. That's okay. So I'm going to get my knife, or any knife. You know, doesn't have to be anything special. I could use a leaf cutter, but I'm not going to show you that it's quite easy. Because I'm doing two leaves, I'm going to cut them in half, because sometimes when you're cutting one out you damage the other side of the fondant, and I want to use that. So I'll just quickly put it there. Move quite quickly as well because, as I say, fondant has a tendency to dry out. Now, if you remember when you were at school and you had art lessons and you had to draw a leaf, well, there you go. So I think that's what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to draw a leaf shape. Nothing amazing. So there you go. Alright, and now because it's a bit jagged, I'm just going to tap it. If it's a bit dry, because I made this fondant a long time ago. It took me hours to set this up. Okay, so there we go. That's alright, isn't it? Yeah. Now, this is where this kind of tool comes in handy, but you don't have to. You could use the back of a knife, the same principle. And just draw the vein of the leaf. Yeah? And then from the center of that vein, pull out. And you're making like a leaf vein all the way up. It doesn't have to be spectacular. Alright? Please, don't beat yourself up about it. Alright? I'll do another one. Try and keep them round about the same size, but I don't suppose it matters too much. Okay. Alright. It's not the same size. Okay. Don't worry. I'm trying to talk myself out of it and say, oh, you're doing a really good job here, Lisa. Right. Okay. You vein it. And then a few little lines. The back of a knife, I'll use the back of this. It's the same principle. You don't like that. Alright. That's it. So, you can use water to glue your rose on this. Now bear in mind, don't do it now. Wait till this totally dries before you start playing with it. But it's a demonstration, so this will take about an hour and a half to 2 hours to dry. But you can actually make glue out of this CMC Tylose powder. That's why I think it's so brilliant. And you just add a tiny amount. So I think it's 1 part Tylose to 30 parts water. All right. So in other words, if I put not even half a teaspoon, 3 sprinkles, I would put 30 sprinkles of water. And you just leave it for about half an hour and it turns into the most amazing glue. You can glue anything. I mean, I've made quite big, large cakes with huge embellishments and they've stuck like a, wow, it's been amazing. So please get some of this, it's worth it because it even makes your glue. So I'll put that back. So you would mix that up, but you can use water and then you don't need loads, mind, you just, even with water, less is more, just put a little touch on and sit it where you want. Now with the leaves, you can sit them from behind. I'll try and do this facing you. Alright, and then you would press with water and then, alright, I'm just trying to stick it down for you. It's not going to work without water, but you can shape it. Okay, like so. Like so. Alright, maybe that's a bit too big. See? I'm not perfect either. And that's what I mean. It doesn't have to be. It's just there. So I've just crushed my rose too. But that's because the fondant's drying out. So, but that's, if you did a batch of those and made 12, you would have 12 toppers to put on your cake. Bingo. So I will move that away. I don't need that now. Okay. Lastly, before I go and do another demonstration about how to bake the actual cupcakes. If you want to follow different recipes, and I notice in the States there's absolutely loads to choose from. I'm always tempted when I'm online to go, oh, I'd love to make that. Well, in America they use this kind of measurement. It's the cup measurement, and you can pick these up for about £2 to £3. You can pay more. I mean, if they were stainless steel made by a certain brand, you'd probably pay £35, but these weren't those. But these are a great way of experimenting with recipes from overseas and following their recipes using the cup method. So that's just something else you could try in the future. But hopefully you'll follow my second tutorial, which is the baking of the cupcakes, and have some fun with it. Well, thanks for your time, and we'll speak soon. Bye.